Joining me this evening for a quick chat on COVID-19 and the impact on the apparel sector is Mr. Arumugam Pillai Sukumaran, President of the Joint Apparel Association Forum. A very good evening to you, Mr. Sukumaran, and thank you very much for joining us this evening on the show. Sir. Now, how is the apparel sector taking up the challenges to fight COVID-19, given the fact that the demand has contracted by 40% and clothing stores across Europe, US and UK closing down during this COVID-19 pandemic?
It's an unprecedented situation right now. As you know, we have never experienced something like this for the past 4 decades we are running here, the operations here. So it's very challenging. It's extremely challenging. We are expecting right now, we are expecting our demand to be contracted for this year by about 40%.
Which is approximately around $2 billion US as far as GDP is concerned. Because we're talking about a $5.6 billion US industry, out of which if you take 40% off, we are going down to approximately around $3 billion US, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. That's what we are expecting because the dust has still not settled down. Even as we speak now, the stores in our major markets, Europe and America, UK, all are closed. So we do not know at this point exactly when those markets will reopen. So it's a challenging situation.
Now the government announced a 50 billion rupee stimulus package. Now the government is portraying it to be a concessionary grant. However, it is not a grant, it is a concessionary loan provided to many sectors across Sri Lanka. Isn't this a tiny drop in a massive ocean, Mr. Sukumaran? This is not enough to even salvage the apparel sector.
Government has announced that package, which is, as you rightly said, it's a loan, which is repayable. And I'm not sure at this point of time that package is tailored or will help the apparel sector in any big way. Because the problem right now is immediately we have a situation where many of the SME sectors are in great difficulty of continuing their operations. So something more has to be done at this point of time, and we are working closely with the government to figure out the way out.
Now, interestingly, Mr. Sukumaran, the government speaks about many industries. They speak about the tourism industry. They had a one-on-one meeting with the apparel sector as well just a couple of weeks ago. They speak about the tea industry and the importance of the exports to be keep running as far as the country's economy is concerned. But what are the tangible steps taken by the government to safeguard industries such as the apparel sector at present?
At present, we are trying to assess our situation on our own, where our industry will move towards. We have made some proposals to the government to how to assist. There are things which has to be done immediate and things which has to be done in the long term. We expect next 3 to 6 months, next 6 months is very crucial for our industry, where we have to retain our industries so that we can bounce back, because there is going to be a situation that the contraction of demand is going to come down. So we are working with the government to see how can the SME sector of our industry can be protected, because it's the key. We estimate at least 25 to 30% of our business is covered by the SME sector.
So we know right now, Mr. Kumaran, that there are approximately 350 to 400 factories operating in Sri Lanka, and approximately 100 factories have already told the Labour Commissioner that they won't be able to pay the wages of employees at present, isn't it?
That's correct. Right now, approximately 100 companies, as far as I know, has written to Labour Commissioner and informed the Railway Department they are going to be in difficulty to pay the salaries for the month of April.
Now, let's say, Mr. Sukumaran, between 2008 to 2010, Sri Lanka lost approximately around 90,000 jobs in the apparel sector due to the recession that was experienced the world over at that time. I know you don't have a crystal ball in front of you to decide or forecast the future, but in your opinion, how many jobs will we lose in the short term and the long term as far as the apparel sector is concerned?
As far as the apparel sector is concerned, right now we have directly about 350,000 employees. And our estimate is there would be a contraction of at least about 25 to 30% immediately, starting from April onwards. So all that would be, in terms of numbers, it could be about, say, 100 to 125,000 people's jobs will be at stake, and some action has to be taken how to retain them.
Mr. Kumaran, interestingly, how important is it for us to navigate these problems? Think about becoming agile. I remember last year at the annual group review of the Maharaja organization, we spoke about how important it is to become agile to take on the world. How important it is for the apparel sector to be agile, and agility is quite important, isn't it, at a time like this?
Yes, our industry had been always in the forefront of agility. We had been navigating problems like different problems over the past several years. But what we are foreseeing now is unprecedented, where it's not things which are beyond our control. It's not only what's happening in Sri Lanka, but the whole world is locked down, our demand is contracting. So it's a problem. So agility wise that is where we need a time. I'm sure within over the next 6 months to 9 months, a lot of changes will happen in terms of the products we are doing, the markets we are doing. There's going to be changes.
So business continuity plans are quite important at present because the new normal has now changed.
The new normal has changed, but the dust has still not settled. So we really do not know where the new normal is going to settle down. But we know it will not be what it was earlier. So there's going to be business contraction. We have to change the way we do business, and we have to take forward from there.
Now, Mr. Sukumaran, you spoke about how the apparel sector has been very agile in terms of taking on the world, and they have been a very resilient industry in the last few years. We've seen this even though we lost the GSP Plus concession, the apparel sector did contribute immensely towards the country's gross domestic product portfolio. So how important is it now to think of emerging opportunities across the board and move on to that sector, the value-added sector, as far as the apparel sector is concerned?
We have to look at new things. Right now, we know, even if you're looking at the long-term prospects, there are a lot of businesses want to move their supply chain out of China and the other areas. So there are opportunities which we should catch on that right now and move forward.
Right. So, Mr. Kumar, there is no replacement for anyone's life. Health is as important as anything else in the world. It's very important to be very focused, steadfast about the health concerns in Sri Lanka. However, the economy is also very important. That has to be in the top priority list as far as the government is concerned. So, if we continue to be locked down in the next few weeks, Mr. Kumaran, that means we will lose opportunities for countries like Vietnam, which is open, Myanmar, which is open. So there is a threat to the apparel sector if we continue to be locked down in the longer run, isn't it?
You're correct. That's one of the reasons we have been trying to say, while giving priority for the health of our workers who are going to work for us and the nation, we are trying to figure out how we can gradually ease this lockdown and start working. We have been working with the government to start our operations in a limited scale and ramp up from there. And we have been told by next week we will be able to restart this operation. We are hoping that will be done, because otherwise some of the opportunities coming our way could be moved.
Mr. Kumaran, do you think the government has got its priorities wrong at present? Why am I saying this? Because they are very steadfast about having an election in the next few months without thinking about the country's economy. What is the message you have for them as far as the short-term, medium-term, long-term economic strategies are concerned? What must the government do to safeguard industries like the apparel sector?
I think what we have to understand is the situation which is happening right now, it's unprecedented, which is not only in the control of Sri Lanka, which is from the whole world. So the actions which we take may not be what generally taken on a normal situations. So while giving health to the priority, I think it's time now to look at economy as well, how to open up and take it from there, right? Economy and health going forward probably has to have a balance to go forward. What is that correct balance? It's not for me to decide, because I'm not an expert in that area, but I think economy has to be opened up, having the correct balance while looking after the health of the people.
Very quickly, Mr. Kumaran, as we speak, the United States of America, which is one of your biggest clients as far as the clothing industry is concerned, has lost approximately around 1.5 million job opportunities. Do you see something of this sort happening to many industries in Sri Lanka? Because we know the tea industry there are dependents of approximately around 1.5 million. Then tourism has a dependency of approximately 1.8 million. Then you all have approximately of dependence of approximately around 350,000 to 400,000. Are you going to experience something of this sort in the next few months?
I think in the next 6 months, from now to next 6 months, we can see that happening. I'm not going to deny that. In the apparel industry, there will be job losses. It's a question of what we have to do is how can we bounce back? That should be our target, how to get it back. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arumugam Pillai Sukumaran, President of the Joint Apparel Association Forum, for joining us this evening on the show for a quick chat. The flower that blooms in adversity is the rarest and the most beautiful of all. Stay safe.